A post-Honkai Odyssey was an entirely new game mode and story that people quickly fell in love with. Even the people who don't like Part 2 are eagerly waiting for Chapter 3 of this mode. It takes place 8 years after the Honkai vanished from Earth, which is really awesome, but this is the Honkai universe, so you know the characters can't go a decade without something horrible happening. The new story is about the sudden invasion of an alien race known as the Sky People, and the cast tries to figure out what is happening. The only problem is, we don't know when this story is going to take place in the timeline. We know it's coming, but when? Well, what if I told you that ever since part 1.5, there has been a massive underlying story in the form of subtle hints dealing with these guys, and yes, that does include part 2. Actually, part 2 holds the most hints about the Sky People yet. Be sure to watch till the end of the video to see what that's all about, and let's get started. Before we start talking about the clues, we need to talk about who the Sky People are. The Sky People are, quote, ruthless energy hunters. The wiki says it's specifically Honkai energy they go after, but it's actually energy of any kind. I get why they made this mistake though. Honkai were the only monsters in this game for a very long time. That recently has changed though, hasn't it? Yes, this is an important distinction, so keep this in mind for later. The Sky People are ravenous creatures. They are insatiable. Energy is like crack to them, and they need that crap in their veins. They usually succeed in taking all energy from the planets they invade because they have technology that greatly surpasses Earth and a lot of other planets. When they succeed, they destroy every trace of that planet, so that's fun. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about how they find planets to invade to begin with. They use these things called Vanguard Stones, which are purposefully made to look like asteroids so people wouldn't bat an eye. What they actually are space shuttles that a scout would get into and then search for planets that are weaker than them. If they find one that's stronger, they'll just frig off like little pansies, but if they find one that's weaker, they'll monitor the planet by sending grunts and harvesters there. These grunts and harvesters could either lay low and wait for the planet to advance in technology enough so that the energy levels would skyrocket, or they could harvest the energy themselves. The Sky People can wait too. They first showed up on Earth in 1908 in an event known as Tunguska, but didn't attack or become known to others until 2005. These grunts and harvesters are so inconspicuous that no one knew the Sky People were on Earth until 97 years after they came. The last thing I want to talk about are the hell gates of pain and miseries. I mean the Stargates. The Sky People use these Stargates as teleportation devices, and they take the form of a diamond with cracks around it. Keep note of this because these will be appearing throughout the video. The first actual mention of the Sky People is in the Salt Snow Holy City arc, specifically Chapter 38. These are the most obvious hints of the Sky People in the main story. Most of you know about these, so I'm just going to lightly touch on them. Susanna appears in St. Fountain, Sayla talks to Timido, you stop fighting Honkai and start fighting Code Zero the Fool, and Kira and Nigoroth talk about them for a bit, calling them galactic pirates. There isn't much lore here, it's just Apo references for shock value, but while Kira and Nigoroth are investigating the Sky People, Nigoroth says the Elder once said that the Sky People were designed into being. But what kind of entity could create a group of interstellar hunters? Nigoroth, I am so glad you asked. Let's talk about it. In chapter 39, we see some of Saw's past and see that she was part of a group of people trying to save Venus from the abyss. One of these people was Marah. Marah was the only one to immediately retaliate when Saw started going insane and wiped out the entire planet just to escape the abyss. She was reduced to nothing but a cleaner working for Saw just like Vita. She's very vocal about her hatred towards Saw, and she was already planning an escape, a plan that she eventually executes on. In chapter 42, while Saw is approaching Vita, Vita grumbled about how Marah took all of Saw's cleaners with her to live a happy life as an interstellar pirate. That should sound familiar to you. Vita mentions how Marah learned to absorb all the energy of a bubble universe. Exactly what the Sky People do. As well as being a cleaner for Saw, she was also delegated a special task. She was given the name Star Traveler, and she would be thrown into space where she would search for a new home for Venus. Something happened to her while she was searching though, because she didn't come back. She did send a letter to Saw though. The letter reads that she is in a dimension where Saw cannot reach her. Thank you for bringing me to the edge of the solar system. Otherwise, I would have never believed in the influence of the stellar wind. I'm not going to read all of this. You guys can if you want, but the most important part of the letter is this. Go ahead and leave your Star Traveler here to rust. You arrogant people are unable to use the Stargate, but that does not mean that I cannot either. Next time we meet, you'll be begging for mercy. She says that she uses a Stargate, which proves that she is a sky person. In fact, when Vita walks up to Marah in chapter 39, Marah looks a bit different than usual. It sounds a lot like Marah created the Sky People, but that's not exactly right. It's more like Marah was the main person who made the Sky People a separate species. Saw's main goal was to become as powerful as possible to create phosphorus, and when the abyss comes back, she could handle them. So she started absorbing energy from the Sea of Quanta, absorbing energy from bubble universes, started absorbing energy from the intertidal zone, and stole the Ark's engine because it had Honkai energy. That's 4 separate energy sources that she was feeding off of to get stronger. It's clear that she wasn't looking for any particular type of energy, matching the exact mentality of the Sky People. Marah learned how to absorb all of a bubble universe's energy from Saw. Saw was the only one who knew how to absorb energy from bubble universes before her. So it seems like Saw created the Sky People to further her own goal of collecting energy to get stronger, but Marah detached all relations with Saw, making the Sky People a completely different alien species that has nothing to do with her as we know them today. Saw is also a sky person herself. Duh, she is the original sky person. When one of her previous assistants, Tyler, tells her to do something, she does it, but not before slipping into something that should be familiar to us by now. Also, there's this. A diamond-shaped portal with cracks coming out of it. That seems familiar. Now we're getting into the meat and potatoes of this video, ladies and gentlemen. All of this was just a prelude for what I have to show you in the second half of this video. It was imperative, to me at least, to give you information about the Sky People and their origins before I jump into what I found. That way this will make more sense to you, hopefully.
ここで会うのは偶然ではないが、私を殺すために来たのかい？
some of you guys might be inclined to click off this video and write me off as a madman. 1, I already knew that, and 2, here are some questions you may have. Baiji, a sky person, seriously? Isn't part 2 a completely different story? Aren't the sky people invading Earth, not Mars? Besides, Baiji has been on our side this entire time, and nothing shows. Wait, what did he just do? First of all, he just made a portal, which we have never seen him do before. Second of all, that portal looks very familiar. This is a Stargate, and you know what that means. Other than this Stargate, Baiji also speaks in red sometimes. And do you know who also speaks in red? I assumed speaking in red was specifically Saw's thing, but since they are her creation, of course the sky people can speak in red as well. Baiji is a sky person, and that's a heartbreaking discovery. This is Sanchi's master, someone she trusts and protects wholeheartedly. Everyone in the Seven Shoes trusts him. This is a way worse betrayal than perception. Either he's genuine or he's really good at utilizing his power, and I'm starting to think it's the latter. Alright guys, that is the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching.
Come on, man.
What?
You're supposed to talk about when the Dami Mommy is dominating.
Oh, the Dami Mommy? Oh yeah, I did forget about her.
Fuck.
Yeah, she's a sky person too. Ajita, a sky person, based on what? 4 red words in an anecdote? That's it? Yeah, we established that the sky people speak in red, but that's too little information. Ajita has never shown any indication of being a sky person, unlike Baiji has. The good news is, she doesn't really have to. One thing I didn't mention about the sky people earlier, they consider their right hand as unclean and cover it up in public, except slaves, because they deserve to be ashamed, I guess? I don't know, man. Aliens are weird. So all we have to do is look at Ajita's hands to see that her right hand is covered, and her left is not. How did Thelema not see this? She would be ashamed of you, Ajita. This is totally uneven. Jokes aside, every other shoe has both of their hands either covered or bare, including Baiji, which means he's a slave. This confirms 2 things. That the sky people are way stronger than we thought, because how the hell is he a slave? And that Ajita is higher in status than Baiji. The reason why Baiji is complying with all of her demands and threats is because even though their technology may be advanced, the sky people still haven't abolished slavery yet. So to him, this is all normal and as it should be. Slaves should shut up and do whatever they're told. He's the one with the bare right hand, you disgusting creep. There are 2 hierarchies that are mashing together here, so let me explain further. In the 7 Shoes, Baiji is the most powerful of these other 4. But in the Sky People hierarchy, Baiji is the lowest of the low, while Ajita is higher than him. Ajita is also in the 7 Shoes with him because as Sky People, they came up with the plan of the 7 Shoes together. Speaking of, let's talk about the reason for both of these plans. When Baiji was explaining Plan A to the main cast, guising it as a mistake of course, Coralie and Helia break down what Baiji and Ajita were doing by comparing the 10 faces to Honkai. What Mr. Baiji attempted to do was forcefully gather the energy, aiming to seize control by condensing a Hersha core. Oh, so they were attempting to steal energy? And not just a little bit by the sound of it, they wanted all of it. How interesting. Tell me more, Helia. Oh, perception is like a Hersher? Hershers have a lot of energy. I wonder if that's why Ajita wanted to make a deal with it in the first place. Also, isn't Linkchu a bubble universe? And what does Saw and Marah know how to do best again? I'm not concluding anything. I'm just saying it's coincidental that bubble universes happen to be the exact thing that sky people go for. Plan B is the entirety of the 7 shoes, and I guess the thought process there was if we can't suck up the energy of the shadows ourselves, why not enlist 5 other people and hope teamwork could help? This was a way for them to turn the tables. Part of that was so that they can recontextualize what they tried to do with Plan A. All of a sudden, this isn't a random guy that tried to steal all of the shadow energy for no reason. Now it's a valiant effort by the future leader of the 7 shoes to end the shadow calamities, acting like he had this intention from the very beginning. Baiji and Ajita are suddenly painted as heroes in Oxia and Langchu that are trying to stop all this, not knowing that they planned this from the start. Look at this. This was the moment that Baiji created the anchor of Langchu to seal all of the shadows down in Langchu. It is later revealed that Baiji collaborated on this with Ajita as well, so here's a question for you. Was this a selfless act to save Oxia and lock the shadows down here with the 7 shoes? Or was it to imprison the shadows down in Langchu with them so that it would be easier to capture their energy? Of course, I don't know their true intentions with this part specifically, so that's just an assumption, but it's important to remember that these 5 actually think there's nothing more to this than stopping the shadows. They're the real heroes here, which makes Baiji and Ajita way more suspicious here as they're the only ones that have ulterior motives. Basically, the 7 shoes is one giant cover-up for all of Baiji and Ajita's past and future actions, and what makes it more believable is that most of the members don't even think it is one. That is only part of what Plan B is for though. There's more. Remember what I told you at the start? That these minions of the sky people can either harvest energy themselves or lay low and wait until the civilization advances enough that the energy would be higher? Plan A was Ajita and Baiji's vain attempt to harvest the energy themselves, and once they realized that wouldn't work, Plan B is them laying low and hoping the other 5 would do it for them. The shadows are a really dangerous calamity that is stopping them from advancing their civilization, and guess what? It worked. Sanchi defeated Perception and along with her the entire shadow calamity. Now they can work on bettering Langchu, and that is exactly what is going to happen in the interlude. It's only a matter of time before rebuilding turns into advancing, and therefore only a matter of time before the rest of the sky people come down to do the rest of the job. Baiji and Ajita used their determination to defeat the shadows to their advantage, and it worked. The key component in both of these plans is without a doubt the Zodiac Astral Ring. It was used as the device to absorb all the energy, and it was used to enhance the 5 abilities to be able to defeat the shadows. This naturally brings up the question, what is the Zodiac Astral Ring, and why did Ajita have it before Baiji did? This may seem impossible to answer because nothing in the chapter indicates where it's from, but you already know where this is going. I found something. While Thelema and Serapeum are talking about how great Baiji's gift is, Thelema touched a fragment of the ring where fragments of stardust crystals were stored. Oh, so the Zodiac Astral Ring stores stardust crystals, huh? What the hell does that mean? There's nothing in the whole arc that indicates what stardust crystals are. The only thing we have is that there's a type of enemy called stardust, but that doesn't mean anything, does it? The concept of stardust did get introduced to us when we were on Phosphorus, aka the planet that Saw made, and in the arc, it was established that if the Raging Flood somehow didn't kill every civilian, then Saw made a backup catastrophe in the form of the Paradise Wardens. The Paradise Wardens were made of stardust and did drop stardust crystals. All of this is to say, Saw did design special enemies made out of stardust crystals. In Marah's letter, she also mentions stardusts, dubbing them as the natives. Is it possible that the Zodiac Astral Rain is one of the advanced pieces of technology that the Sky People have? That would make sense why Ajita and Baiji used the rain for the purpose of absorbing all of the shadow energy, and why it's being used to enhance the other abilities to be able to defeat the shadows. I revealed a lot of things to you guys over these two parts, so I think it's only fair to me to tell you guys my full theory front to back. My theory is that the Sky People found Mars, wanted to steal energy from its bubble universes, so they gave Ajita, one of their harvesters, the Zodiac Astral Rain, and sent Ajita and one of their slaves, Baiji, there to monitor. They immediately went to suck up all the energy, but the rain broke during it. They knew that would happen, so they came up with the 7 shoes, a way to cover up their previous and future actions, as well as using the other 5's willpower to defeat the shadows so that Chu could advance. Chu is in a pretty tough situation right now. Ironically, defeating the shadows was the worst thing they could have done, because Plan B succeeded, and now Chu's going to rebuild and advance, and like I said, it's only a matter of time before the rest of the Sky People come. And when they do, they'll be begging for the shadows to come back, because if Baiji is the lowest of the low in terms of power, like Marah said, they'll be begging for mercy. What will Baiji do now that Plan B succeeded? Who knows? I know what Ajita will do though, and that's searching for this continent that she kept bringing up. And now that we know her true nature, I don't think that's a good thing. Thanks for watching this video, guys. It was a longer one than usual, but a very important one. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing for more theory content like this, and I will see you guys next time.